When you claim you're African, you're going to get your mind back.
If a generalized black woman is doing this and being this, that is that is irresponsible.
No,
when you claim you're African, you're going to get your mind back. Showing me,
black and proud. Claim you're African,
because I think that if
when
as
you claim you're
as
African,
a
you're going to
person
get your
who
mind
has
back.
a page,
What is the status of people
Claim you're
with half
black and proud. I'm telling you. When you claim you're African, you're going to get your mind back.
That's why I was laughing, because
Black and proud. Claim you're African, black
I'm not saying the framework doesn't do a thing, but
become a part of it.
We've been
Embrace
forward
it.
to black men
Become a
being the
part of it.
masters, being
Embrace
in
it.
control. We
Become a part of it.
Only
Embrace it.
That those one of the
Become a
best
part
stories I've
of
ever
it.
heard.
Embrace it. When you claim you're
have
African, you're going
mastered
to get your mind
that
back.
mental growth takes
Black
place.
and
You've
proud.
been
Claim
misled
you're
by
African.
leadership,
Black
for
and
instance,
proud.
that
I'm
think
telling
you
you.
can consume.
When you claim you're African, you're going to get your mind back. Black and proud. Claim you're African. Black and proud. I'm telling you.
peace and power, family. Dr. Daw, back in the building, family. Yeah. I had to jump in here on the Karmelo case. I had to jump in here on this particular case. I wanted to jump in here just to be honest with you. These particular type of events, I'm not fast to respond to them. And I've never been over the many years that these type of travesties take place in our community. Peace, Dr. DeB Shavers Jr. Yeah, I'm not really quick at really speaking on these type of cases. For me, I have to sit back and think a bit. And in fact, it's more about, do I have anything to add to the conversation? And another thing, the way that I kind of conceptualize things, it's probably going to be a bit different than what I find predominant in social media spaces. Family, make sure you like the video up. Come in, share, subscribe, as we go through this process today. So I want to have a talk with you. You know what I mean? I want to have a talk with you as we discuss the Karmelo Anthony and Cyrus Carmack-Belton case. Yeah, I want to have a talk. I want you to engage in this conversation, because one of the things I realize that we do many times is that we talk at one another when it comes to these things. And I understand, because we become emotionally charged. Now, so again, family, we're going to talk about Karmelo Anthony and Cyrus Carmack-Belton. So off the jump, I want to say, I'm not a lawyer, an attorney, or a legal scholar. I'm not, in this particular case, trying to determine guilt or innocence. To me, that's just not what I'm attempting to do. You know what I mean? That's just not what I'm attempting to do. What I am attempting to do is get my PowerPoint slide up in the right place. I think it might have moved a bit. But nonetheless, I'm not trying to determine guilt or innocence, right? That's just not what I'm trying to do. That's not my goal here. My goal here is to have a conversation with you if you all join in with me today. So I put here the title, Beyond the Verdict. Why are we so divided? Why are we so divided? Karmelo Anthony and Cyrus Belton. And I also put reaction or organization, because I'm hearing several sides of this conversation, and it seems as if many times, just due to my experience in the community is that one is on the side of what did you expect? And others are on the side to say they did us wrong. And maybe there's some other things in the gray. But I think that that's why I struggle with coming right out and having these conversations, because I just think that most of the time we don't give each other enough room and space to really process these together. And when we disagree about these things, we become very, 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 very emotionally upset. And I think that, and I don't want to downplay the why people are upset. And I don't want to downplay why people are what I would call probably tired. But I think that it's pivotal that we understand one another so that we can really, truly deal with the hurt, deal with the pain, and deal with how do we move forward. So again, reaction or organization. So again, I said, I'm not a lawyer or attorney. This is a structural analysis, not a legal advocacy. I'm asking, what does these cases reveal? What does these cases reveal? What do they reveal, family? Past our emotional entanglement or our emotional connection to these men, what does these cases reveal? Peace to brother Bob M. Hotep Fatu, who says, as a people, we have been oriented to react rather than organize because of our sense of nationhood. It looked like something got cut off. So again, I want to have a conversation. I want to have a conversation because I understand all these sides. I understand all the sides. So again, I'm not talking about whether or not the legal verdict was right. If the legal verdict was correct, to me, just to be honest with you now, and I want to be careful as I approach this. I truly want to be careful because I do know that in some sense, although I could be very, let me just say, it can seem like I'm being insensitive. And that's not what I want to present myself with or present myself as. So that's why I took the time to put together a PowerPoint to kind of guide my thought in the way that I'm going to bring this before you today. So again, it's not about, for me, whether the legal verdict is right. I think that many times, like, we find ourselves getting caught up about things we have no idea about. We would argue as if we are the professionals. We would argue as if we have gone to law school and passed the bar. And we will argue in that way with all types of passion and anger and hurt. But the reality is, when I listen, I realize we don't know what we're talking about. Because I understand even within this system, there's procedures, there's policies, there's laws, there's all types of things I have no idea about as a person who doesn't practice that profession. I'm not saying I can't have an opinion or that I can't have an idea, a thought, an emotion. I'm not saying I can't have those things. But what I am saying is we have to be really honest with ourselves. We don't know what we're talking about. I mean, I'm hearing people talking about, stand your ground and this and that and all these like other type of things. But when I'm listening to attorneys, black and others, they're not having the same type of conversation. So again, I'm not coming here to speak about anything from that legalese or a legal perspective, because look, that's not my jam. I can give an opinion about morality and all this type of thing, but the reality is, I think once we enter these conversations, even with that perspective, we really don't know the beast that we're up against. We really don't know the beast that we're up against. We are often confused about this beast when I hear us arguing about things that we don't know. It's kind of like trying to argue the Bible within the Bible. I mean, I've heard Dr. Ray Higgins do it. I used to be a part of his organization. And I realized it was pointless, because the Bible is created in a way that you're going to find contradictions, and you're going to find people who find loopholes to serve whatever end they want to meet. Likewise, I'm not arguing this system, because I understand that this system in and of itself is created in a way to serve itself. This system is created in a way to serve the system. You cannot beat the system with the system. I mean, we can walk around and say that was unfair, but you have to understand that many times, and most of the times, it's not about that. I was thinking about something I heard a revolutionary Baba say not too long ago. He said we need to reframe how we tell the stories of our revolutionaries. He said we try to act as if the revolutionaries back in the day, or people like Asada, were innocent of the crimes that this state or this United States said they committed. He said, no, we understood that we were fighting the system. So to act as if a person is innocent by the laws that are written here, one, is problematic. See, it takes the revolutionary or the reason why one or the group was engaging in that way in the first place. Look, we would see a revolutionary take the life of an officer and then say they're not guilty. No, they're guilty. But we got to look beyond that. Now, when we're in war, when you're at war with an oppressive system, you can use the system as much. You can use it. You can try to argue through it, but the system itself that you're fighting is set up in a way that it creates and reinforces the outcome. So legal versus a structural analysis. I think we have to have a structural analysis. See, we having this legal analysis, which is a part of the whole structural or the structure of the system that we find ourselves in, or one of the systems under this USA. So legal versus a structural analysis. So to me, it's not about whether or not the verdict was right. The person can be totally wrong. And I'm still going to say this country has created that. I'm still going to say that the conditions that we find ourselves under created the engagement, the murders, the deaths the taking of people's lives, the sentencing and the procedures, the verdicts, all of that is a part of how this system is designed. And I'm saying the system has many systems that are institutionalized and many ideas that are in the back of people's minds to support this system. So you will hear Black people who are saying that person was guilty. He did this to that person. Or that person did that to that person. But to me, it's much larger. It's a much bigger issue at hand. So again, I put here the structure itself, what conditions produce, the structural is what the conditions produce. I don't know what I put here, but anyway, what I'm saying is the conditions produce the outcome. The conditions produce the outcomes. We can sit around and, as Brother Shaver says here, circular reasoning all day long. But the reality is you can never, ever take your eye off the very system that creates it. The legal system is just a part of the major system to support and keep the overall system operating. So as we cry and react and respond and fight about the injustice, we must know that that system was set up just for that. There's no, and I understand the hurt and pain, but I think we have to be wiser with our energy. When I looked at the young man and I saw his pictures, it hit me probably just like it hit you. And I don't have to speak about Karmelo or Cyrus on an individual level, because these are two people out of millions of people that look like them that are experiencing this system on a daily basis and are reacting in similar ways. See, the system, and as some of our scholars speak about, they talk about all the areas like education, entertainment, legal system, all these different systems, the legislative system, the judicial system. All of these systems are wired in ways to produce and reinforce the cycles that we find ourselves in. They are created in ways to have us act out and react the very ways that we do. All of the ways, all of them. Every last one of them, from the young men who have been hurt, the young men who will go to prison. I'm saying black on black crime even. The system creates that. The system creates and reinforces that. And we must not be confused that even when someone that you know is hurt by someone else that looks like them, that is still a loss on both sides. Now, we hold our community accountable. We have to do that. We have to do that. We have to do that. We have to hold our community accountable. But we can never, I'm suggesting we never take our eyes off of the enemy. This white, racist, capitalistic system, it produces that. So to argue about the legalese of the thing, of the matter, it's just a small thing. In fact, the legalese or it's actually there to enforce the outcome. It actually is a part of the grander scheme and process which actually led to the behaviors of the young men. It led, and then we're sitting around and we're arguing about things we have no ideas about. I don't, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter to me whether the young man did anything, either young man. It doesn't matter, because I know whether you say they should have been found guilty or not, or whether this person, Chow, I think his name is, deserved time. That's how the system is created. Even if he did serve time, it's still in the process and the maintenance of this system. The system is a problem. I want us to really look at this. It's kind of trying to, again, win an argument with a Christian or a Muslim with their own book. The book reinforces the idea, the ideology, even the confusion reinforces it. But again, I want to argue that, look, we got to look past these intricate, we got to, don't get lost in thinking that the legal system is designed in a way that's going to support young black men. Just like the educational system is not designed in a way to support young black men. See, all of these systems have fed or have been fed into the minds of even the jurors, whether they were black, white, considered their peers or not. Because I'm hearing all types of argumentation. Just because a person looks like you doesn't mean they have your same political ideology or agenda. See, because we are really often apolitical. So we ask, I would argue, the wrong questions. I think we should ask the question, why is this happening? So again, I put here, focus on patterns, not only events. Focus on the patterns, not only the events. Focus on this pattern that continuously happens. And the reason why it continuously happens is because we're still operating within a system that does not serve us. It serves your enemy. It serves your oppressor. I know you might not like those terms, but just fill in whatever term you want. It serves the aristocracy, the 1%. It serves those in power, however you want to put it. It serves the hegemonic Europeans. The system creates and enforces. Conditions shape behavior. We cannot overlook the conditions of anyone. I'm even talking about all of them. I'm talking about everybody. I'm talking about even the people, the jurors. I'm not even talking about color alone. I'm saying the conditions condition the people. And when I say conditions, note that I'm not just speaking about conditions that we see that are necessarily negative. Because you could believe you got the greatest education But that education conditioned you to make those decisions, or at least you thought you made a decision. See, again, we have to be very clear, because I hear people with all the revolutionary mind, but they still feel good about the indoctrination of their youth, because they're still indoctrinated. We can walk and act like we, like you put your red, black, and green on, but then you whisper like, yeah, my son just got accepted into such and such, or they're speaking about all these institutions that are merely going to indoctrinate them into this culture, this Eurocentric culture. They're only going to indoctrinate them into maintaining this system. And I'm not saying there's no people who can go there and do something different, but we have to understand all the information we have. When we think about the boarding schools of the natives to this land, and we think about how they indoctrinated them to idolize, or to get the, I forgot how they say it. Y'all can say it in the chat. In other words, it's like it was like in other words, you kill the Indian and save the something. I can't remember. But nonetheless, the goal was to reform them, to indoctrinate them, to be subjects and agents of the United States of America. White supremacy ideology. So again, it is essential that we deal with things on a, in the details of the legal system and know these things. But we must understand that knowing that legal system, engaging in that legal system, practicing in that legal system, whatever system, mental health, whatever, is still not enough. Because you have Black attorneys out here struggling every day to save our lives, but I guarantee you they burned out. You have Black people out here, mental health professionals, trying to help save our lives, and I guarantee you, in doing so, they become burned out. Because the system itself will wear you down. Yes, we have to engage in this system, but understand engaging in this system will never bring about your liberation. It will never bring about your sovereignty. Family, talk to me. I know I'm here, and I don't see too many people chatting in the chat board, but talk to me. Talk to me. So the system creates and enforces poverty, trauma, alienation, dislocation. The system creates these conditions that condition people to behave in certain ways, to think in certain ways. So again, we have to save our children. So I understand why people are frustrated, especially those of us who organize. I have it in my clip later, but I understand the frustration. It's because those who are on the ground, in the trenches, doing cultural education and healing and studying all types of things in order to bring about a new culture, another value system, and ultimately to disrupt the system that we're in, don't have the support, or we're not moving in ways in large enough numbers at this moment to bring about that change. But in many times what happens is many of us really buy into the system, whether we want to admit it or not. Many of us have bought into the system. even though we call it racist. Because again, I argue that we don't truly know what racism is. Because we think that an event was racist. We think the murder of the young man was when the racism started. We think that the racism started when the verdict came down that gives Karmelo however many years he is going to receive. We think it started there. See, we're not thinking about, well, again, that's why I'm saying it doesn't matter to me whether Karmelo is innocent or guilty, but the racism started well before. He was born and birthed into a racist society. It is not by happenstance that Karmelo did what he did. It is not by happenstance. It is not by happenstance. I don't care whether he meant to do it. I don't care if he did it out of fear. I don't care if he just thought he was a white man and he wanted to obtain some level of power. I know what I can say. I know what I can maintain. I know what I can prove and support that is due to this racist system. I don't, even if he intended to take his life. See, I'm not going to argue about whether or not what he did and why he did it. Look, you can do it. But understand that the event itself is just a indicator, is a symptom of this racist society we find ourselves in. Racism did not start when the verdict came down. Racism is systematized and systemic. We have to truly know what that is. It started before Karmelo was born. It started before I was born. It started before you were born. If I decide to, let me take me out of this. But what I'm saying is, we have to be less reactionary than we find ourselves in. And I understand why we're reactionary. I know why we're hurt. Because I'm hurt too. When I see those pictures, I'm hurting for my brother, but I'm hurting for him in a different, I'm hurting for him in a similar but dissimilar way. I'm hurting because I see another brother who was set up in this system that we love, even though we say we don't. Because we don't know what racism is. Because we keep thinking that racism was the time the judge hit the gap, what do they call it, gavel on the table. That is not what it is. That's a part of it. The thinking of our dear brothers, their feelings and emotions, their behaviors were also impacted by racism. So I don't care whether or not they were guilty or what. Look, that's not my argument. If they were guilty, this society is guilty of creating that. There's places where this doesn't happen. This society is guilty. And we keep falling victim to it and speaking about racism at the event level lacks analysis. To try to fight a system with the system is not it's not really fighting per se. It's maintaining. It's trying to survive. It's surviving. I mean, I guess part of fighting is surviving, but at some point you got to punch them. So again, I put the condition. The system often creates the conditions and then punishes the outcomes. Let's just make that clear. Baba Imhotep says we have a lack of national consciousness. I'm going to have him come on and break that down in a few weeks. He says we have a lack of national consciousness. I agree. We've brought into this system. When I talk to my brother, my elders, even I talk to my elders, and somehow they're surprised about this idea that Trump is in the White House and that these jobs are gone. I'm saying, like, when you hear even the sisters and my brothers say, well, black women were impacted more than anybody. I'm like, I get what you're saying. But to me, that statement in of itself is telling that what Baba Imwalimu Imhotep is saying here is absolutely true. We have a lack of national consciousness. Family, we must wake up. Now, I could be wrong, but I think that we were making some strides and there were counterattacks of belonging, diversity, equity, and inclusion. Certain positions that we truly believe that we belong and everybody gets a fair chance because your nephew got a chance or because you got a chance. I never, ever. Look, Dr. King talked about tokenism. Look, we always talk about Dr. King, but Dr. King said don't use him as no goddamn token because he understood that it's interest convergence, it's false generosity, meaning that what you see, what they seem to give you in this society within this system is given as a concession just to maintain the very system. I know that we think that we don't really get that. We think that, well, I mean, so you mean that we won this case and you're never happy? No. What I'm saying is they're tricky. What I'm saying is that you believe you got something. I'm saying that the analysis has to be at a structural level. Hence, it requires national consciousness. As Baba Imwalimu, I'm sorry, I'm putting Imwalimu on there because you're a teacher and a Bible. Lack of national consciousness. Yeah, we definitely got to deal with that. We have to awaken our minds. We think we've reached it. I hear people talk about Nellie Fuller and Carter G. Woodson and Amos Wilson and all these people, but somehow still believe in the goddamn system. I don't know how you could be students and still crying or shocked when the system does what they taught us it will do. I'm not saying don't fail. I'm just saying Stand up and fight. I'm not saying not to be empathetic, but what I am saying is stand up and fight. Get involved. Because if you are shocked, that means you believe something else. You believe something else. You believe that the sisters weren't going to lose those jobs today. You believe they owned those jobs, in fact. And then you also believe the idea that Black women were impacted, but the whole Black community wasn't. The Black family wasn't. When something happens to Black men, and you say it happened to Black men exclusively, your analysis is off. Your national consciousness is off. Your structural analysis is lacking because we bought into this society because we believe that we are a part of it. That was a concession. That was interest convergence. False generosity. Give them something so that we can maintain control. That's what I'm saying. What I'm suggesting is with all of that energy, there's people who out here that fight every day. And you see, the thing is, we don't understand what fighting looks like. See, when we go back to what Baba Imhotep is saying here, he said we're lacking national consciousness. That's a daily fight and struggle right there. Because not until you have a level of consciousness can you truly fight. And then I hear people with their idiotic statements that say theory is not needed. I'm tired of talk. Bro, you ain't learned yet. Sis, you ain't learned yet. You're just tired and frustrated. You have to understand people like Stephen Biko. Why did they wipe him out? Why did they kill him? I know there's different stories, but why did they kill him? Why did they imprison him? Because consciousness is real. If you don't have a proper theoretical, ideological orientation, you will do nothing more than be at service. Service. You'll be at service of this society in its status quo. You'll be in the maintenance of this society. Even when you think you're fighting. I'm not saying not to do some operational things within this society, but never confuse that as revolutionary, liberational, or simple terms that will bring about the change that we desire and need for our community. I know it. We want it to be easy. I know y'all love to quote Malcolm X and by any means necessary. And yes, that statement is not outdated. I'll just say we're going to have to look at many different means and not I promise you, the educational system that you're trying to fix within, do your good work. The mental health system that you're trying to fix within, do your good work. The healthcare system that you're trying to fix within, yeah, do your good work. But that is not going to bring about the change that we need. We have to, again, I appreciate, we have to be able to differentiate between what is needed for us to survive and that which is needed to bring about structural change. So what do we got here in the family chat, in the chat family? Let me see. Racism is the, Bob Imhotep says, racism is the total context wherein this incident occurred. Ashe. Ashe. Every piece of it. Before the verdict, before any of these verdicts, racism was a part of it. The problem is, let's say the outcomes were different. And let me be clear. I would hope that they were different. But the reality is, even if the outcomes were different, racism was still at play. But the problem is, if the outcomes were different, you would have felt like you won something. And I'm not saying that for this individual or individuals in the family and the community, and even us who are connected to it from a distance, that's not a win for us in some way, but that is not a win that will stop future losses. So again, family, I wanted to approach this with care. And with all, I ask you for your patience, because I mean, there's so much going on out here, but we should never be confused about this system. I am saying that we must do better to have a structural analysis. Brother Jadorian says, strength and love, Brother Jadorian. Hustle Life says, still as an FBA, we have to take some accountability for our behaviors, community conflict, inappropriate behavior in public. Still as FBA, we have to take some accountability. I mean, I get what you're saying here. I'm not sure what you're saying here, though. I mean, Sam Shaver says 100% School of Urban Philosophy. Proper perspective. What are you doing, cuz? Hey, what you doing here, cuz? I honestly don't understand shock and surprise. Now anger and outrage. Brother Carrier says 100% you. I don't know what, Brother Carrier, I'm not sure if I'm following. Did we leave out one term? One needs a proper perspective. Okay, yeah. Is that a shout out to you, proper perspective? I know that's right. Says proper perspective. So let's get back into this, family. So all systems find and seek equilibrium. So do the rules serve the people? I put here. Do the rules serve the people? We gotta look. When we're sitting around, we're talking about these analysis and we're having our analysis. We gotta understand none of these rules aren't. I mean, like, that. Look, even when they look like they're serving you, when it looks like you won. See, we gotta really look at this. And I'm not saying, look, I'm being real clear. I want to be really clear. I would like to see the Asian man doing some time, and I would like to see Karmelo going home. But if we don't really look at this, it's just going to repeat itself. And I'm not saying that will ever be a perfect time, but again, never confuse these major events as racism. Racism was a part of everything before the verdict or the verdict. Whether or not, look, I'm not sitting here trying to prove that Karmelo didn't want to take that man's life. I don't know. But in the end of the day, whichever decision whatever reason he decided to do that, it was due to racism, oppression. It could have been capital, all the isms, but racism encompasses it all. So again, do the rules serve the people? Do the rules serve the families, the communities, and nation? Does it serve us? Who do the rules serve? What outcomes are protected? Again, what outcomes are protected? We must understand that the outcomes that we receive is due to this tapestry of rules. Even when you think you won one, even when you think you won. See, that's how they rock you to sleep. You think you won something. You believe that we're liberated within the system. We see that's how they rock you to sleep. See, we would have been singing happy days. So what do you do with all of that energy now since you see that the system doesn't work for us? What do you do with all that energy? Organize. Organize. Organize, family. So I put it here. I said, beyond the verdicts, why are we so divided? Reaction or organization, family? Reaction or organization? And I understand the reaction. I truly do. I truly understand the reactions. But again, the reactions are not enough to stop the next time or the times that they're going to perpetually happen as long as we just react, because we think that is racism. We think that when the Asian man shot that man, that was racism. I'm not saying that it wasn't racially motivated, but we believe that event was racism. No, racism actually created the ideas in the store clerk's mind and the conditions that the black young boy in the black boy's mind, and also the environmental conditions that all of them found themselves in, including the Asian man. Racism sets you up. It sets you up. It's set up at the lives of our youth. We can argue about whether or not there's this, what's this thing that everybody's talking about, whether or not he stood his ground and whether store clerks can do this and all that. I mean, I'm not an attorney, so I'm not going to sit up here and be playing one. But the attorneys I heard say, well, the attorneys I heard speaking, they said this was the likely outcomes. And these were black attorneys. I'm not saying there wasn't any others, but I am saying for the most that I heard, they said this, what we saw were the likely outcomes. See, again, but in our minds, we still see some morality in this system. We still see some hope in this system. Let's see what Baba Imhotep says here. Appreciate y'all taking this ride with me and talking to me today, family. Two insidious dimensions of racism is, one, its capacity to camouflage itself, and yes, its capacity to camouflage itself. Hence, a need for national consciousness, a need to deal with that stuff that you keep saying, oh, that's outdated. Oh, that's that old Malcolm X stuff. Oh, that's that Panther stuff. Look, you don't even realize, a lot of us who say that stuff don't even realize that I was born in 79. We don't realize how close that was to our birth. Like we talking about like it was ancient history or something. So again, two insidious dimensions of racism. Its capacity to camouflage itself, and two, let me go back to the one. Yes. Hence, a need for national consciousness. Two, its ability to cloak itself while still delivering its full, depowering effect upon Black life. Yes, the ability to cloak, hide itself while still delivering a full powering effect upon Black life. It's like punching you in the dark. You say, where did that come from? When you turn the light on, you see your cousin. When you turn the light on, you saw your wife. When you turn the light on, you saw your uncle. When you turn the light on, you saw another person that looked like you or was just as disempowered as you. And then you took it out on them. Its ability to cloak itself while still delivering its full depowering effect upon Black life. Yeah, appreciate that. Proper Perspective says racism is also the court system that issues the verdict. Absolutely. The court system is there to serve racism and any other oppressive system or formation we find in this country. It is there to serve it. It is there to serve it. The stand your ground laws are written so differently each state, you must understand them in your own state. Whew. One thing I'm going to tell you, it's good to understand those things. It's definitely good to understand them. But one thing I just want to be real honest about, we should understand them. But at the same time, it will not change our conditions if that's all we do. We got to raise, as Bobby Hotep says, our consciousness. And I think what Proper Perspective is saying here is that it's written so differently, and I think he's probably alluding to the idea that that's intentional. Real Truth to Power, President Winchester here. He says, peace, family. King Divine says, FBA 100. Yeah, it's so interesting that you will find a way to get your FBA. Like, what does that have to do with this conversation? But anyway, do your thing. Has nothing to do with this conversation. Even if you were saying that these was FBA brothers, like I'm trying to figure out FBA 100. Maybe you're saying fight. I don't know. Maybe let me take that back. But look, maybe you're saying organize. Maybe you're saying King Divine. Maybe what you're saying is organize on a national level, like Bobby Imhotep is speaking about. Maybe you're saying also organize as Pan-Africans. I got you, King Divine. Maybe that's what you're saying. So yeah. So again, next slide. Racism more than extreme events. I spoke about this a bit, but racism is not only visible in the headlines. It appears in daily conditions. I spoke about this, but I want to show it to you on the slide as for those who want to go back and review this and actually for those who see it later. It appears in daily conditions. We got to understand in the conditions, that condition. Y'all put that down. The conditions that condition our minds, our emotions, our behaviors on an individual, familial, communal, societal level. Racism is more than extreme events. You know, we got to fight before the events. We have to organize before the events. We have to learn before the events. I had a talk with one of, let me see. Can I say it? Yeah. I talked to one of the dear brothers, Babas, Wally moves in the community. And when I realized, even those of us who are fighting, we are so apolitical. And I asked him, I said, we need to have political consciousness classes, in a sense. Because those of us who even put on the red, black, and green and any other type of nationalistic type of regalia, often, we've bought into this system. I'm telling you, because when you're organizing, you'll find out that even those who seem like they're hardcore RBG have still bought into the creature comforts. And more than the creature comfort or the comfort creatures, they have bought into the ideas of what they can get in this so-called American dream. No. They believe in the American dream. And they also believe in that if you're not doing good or you're not, it's because of you. They believe that you did something wrong because they got their credit score right. They think you did something wrong because you don't have a job. They think you did something wrong because of these things. But again, they also, as I said, somehow we believe that our federal government jobs are our federal government jobs and white supremacy won't get rid of it or get rid of them. See, Dr. Amos Wilson says we are under illusion that things just in a linear formation just get better. He said, we believe that things just automatically and will continue to get better. And we don't often think that things will return to previous conditions. We're going to use that condition word today. And the condition. Again, Dr. Amos Wilson, see, we talk about Amos Wilson. We can even articulate him. But it's a difference between understanding what he's saying and just regurgitating it. And that is why what Bob Imhotep is saying here is essential. Many haven't undergone any serious political education. This idea of a need for national consciousness. We believe we know. We haven't worked. We have not been an organization to be challenged. We have not been able. We're so touched that we can't sit under guidance and leadership. I'm sorry, family. No, we have to learn to be, we need to undergo training. We have to undergo education. It's not enough to just go and get their thing and think that is what you need and that's enough. Because that is indoctrination. We are, even those who seem the most radical, those who talk the loudest even, those who scream the loudest, those who react to events like this, and it's very clear for those who know that you're not really that clear about this system because you expected something different. See, because you would be upset, but the upset will be funneled in a different way. Your energies and your conversation around it will be different. It's very clear that even when you don't know that you've brought into this illusion of the American dream and this system that we find ourselves in, with someone who can see, that you've been hoodwinked, bamboozled, even though you call yourself a revolutionary. Because it's comfortable. It seems easy, but it's very destructive to our community. It's very destructive to our relationships. We still believe in all these things. We believe in, look, the reality is, one thing you can get out of Carter G. Woodson's book, The Miseducation of the Negro, you don't have to agree with everything, is that just because your enemy is doing a thing as far as education and any other thing, I would argue and extend it to, it doesn't mean you just merely mock them and think that you have arrived, because that what services your enemy or your oppressor or what have you ultimately maintains your position as quote unquote inferior, as the oppressed, as enslaved, as colonized. Yes. So again, that political education is important. Let's see what King Divine said. Keep up the good work, even though we don't agree. All right, I appreciate that, King Divine. Y'all just started, Robert Rand. Y'all just started the realization that we need to organize our own community. Okay, I don't know what Robert Rand is talking about. We just started. Okay, you apparently came in late, or you just want to start trouble, Mr. Rand. Yeah, again, Bobby Hotep says many haven't undergone any serious political education training. Yeah, because we want to hope for, like, yeah, and that's true. Even those of us who find ourselves in these spaces, you know, just because you're an EI or you're a doctor in this or something another, doesn't, it's very clear when you talk to him. Mr. Shaver says this is a much needed discussion. So again, yeah, I appreciate that. So again, racism is more than extreme events. This is quite like I was speaking to when people started talking about this whole idea of femicide and black men are doing this and all that type of thing because they saw an event. If that event was the indicator to you that that's the case, that's not a good analysis. In fact, I would argue against that analysis. But racism is more than extreme events. Again, it appears daily in your daily conditions and opportunity structures. I just hear us talk. The more I hear us talk, the more I know we just don't know. We just don't know. We need political education. We got some very strong people in Baltimore. But again, there's so many that are not. Because another part is that we will not sit down with people who are more politically astute. And part of that is many times because we think that we're doing something better. And I see the arrogance of the system. The system creates arrogant people. It creates people who the system not only rewards those people we're calling leaders, and then we call them sellouts. It does it to most of us. Because you think because you have a government job, I'm not listening to that person. You think because you're making six figures, I'm not going to listen to that person, but you'll listen to Beyonce. about political education. You'll listen to Jay-Z about political education. I mean, like this type of hypocrisy, this type of ignorance. Yeah, like somewhere in your mind, in a real sense, we don't understand how many of our greatest minds forego certain economic advantages to be free as they can be in this nation. Or that so that their thinking isn't clouded by that six-figure salary. Or to be the example of what is possible. Even if it looks like they're doing okay to a degree, and if they are, understand there's so much of the opportunity that they forgo for the collective. I'm talking about, and I'm going to say leaders, that people who you think don't have as much as you, but are out here fighting and educating themselves politically and are politically astute, often forgo capitalistic ventures and all these other type of things because they realize the problems in them and they don't want to sell their souls. But you would be like, well, I make more money, or at least I think I do, or I have a better car, or at least I think I do, or whatever it is. Not knowing that these people sacrifice daily. But see, again, we begin to look at things as if we have these Eurocentric ideas of success in our minds, and we believe that that's revolutionary. Like the brother Haki Ami, he talks about John Hope Bryant. Like there's something revolutionary about the brother. You know what I mean? Like I saw him on Black Liberation Media, and the guy was off his rocker. Let's see what y'all saying here, family. I'm not going to be here too much longer. But if y'all want to come in and chit chat a little bit too, that might be fine a little bit. Yeah, Brother Shaver says, no, Robert Rand, it's a reminder. We learn in repetition. Yeah, we need some repetition for real, because we need to rewire those neural pathways, because it hasn't sunk in yet. And it hasn't sunk in perhaps Robert Rand because he is saying such a thing. Brother Mosi, I guess, Masi, the state equals a monopoly on violence, legitimate violence. Absolutely. And violence in many forms: physical, mental, spiritual, economic, in all ways, through all the systems that Dr. Wells and Neely Fuller speaks about as well. So again, common sense and the system. Common sense may already be shaped by the system. What we think is common sense, we think, oh, I'm smart, I have common sense. And this goes back to this idea that Baba Imhotep was speaking to earlier about this need for national consciousness. We believe that our common sense is common. We believe that, and what I mean by that, we believe that we have common sense versus conditioned sense. That's probably the term I want to start playing with now. We have conditioned sense. We think it's common sense. You might just put conditioned sense on it. Because it's already shaped by the system. What you believe is common sense is conditioning. Some of us believe, because we didn't even go to academia or higher levels of education, that we have not been conditioned. I will promise you that is false. I will promise you that We all have been touched by this bug. And if you think you haven't been, keep on thinking, because it is a daily task. We can't even stay in relationships with another person in an attempt to rewire the way that we think, feel, and behave. We have a relationship with this system that is just as difficult to break, if not more difficult, because we will sell out and we will abandon our families and Black people and our wives and children for this relationship we have with this system, or at least the one we want. Our careers and our education, we've been conditioned, whether you went through formal education or another route. I don't even know what formal education really means. I mean, just even that terminology, like, that's the type of thinking that, like, what is formal education? Who decides what formal education is? I mean, I'm not trying to go too far, but that's that. And let's see. Brother Shaver says condition sense. Yes, sir. Baba Imhotep says miseducation is necessary to functional and operational racism. The miseducated become unwitting accomplices, key agents of its perpetuation within the oppressed group. Let me read that again, family. The miseducation is necessary to the functional and operational racism. The function and operation of racism. That education process creates accomplices, key agents of its perpetuation, people who are going to carry it out, whether they know it or not, that look like you and me, that even talk Black power and revolution. We all need to sit down and have a discussion, because I've seen too many people, and I see it time and time again. I think some of us do it for the algorithm, but some of us really, truly are devastated by the outcomes. I'm not saying the life loss. We're devastated by the outcome or the verdict. Let's talk about the life. That's one thing. But to expect a different verdict. I'm not saying it won't happen sometimes. They'll give you some sometimes. They'll give you some. But still in the maintenance of this system. And I know this sounds like I want us to really think about it, because I know how it is. It sounds like, oh, you don't have any faith in this system. You're just blaming everything on this system. That is not complex thinking. I promise you, it's very complex thinking. And I would love to have the conversation with you if you feel that way. Brother Shaver says, Doc, my wife said we are enslaved in our minds. Brother Mosi said miseducation. Brother Masi said miseducation indeed. Hence, one cannot find the word maroon in the Smithsonian African American Museum in DC. All of this exists by way of our insane participation, as Nana Amos Wilson stated. our insane participation. And I think that's when we think about insanity, like not to look at it as if it's like a jab thrown at you, because I can see how one could say, well, who is he calling insane? Because we're not even looking at the term itself. Insanity means that you're out of your mind. Like there's something that's infringing upon your ability. This society, this nation that we find ourselves within, this ideological system called racism, this political system called racism, this cultural system we call racism, is warring upon us. So let me kind of move a little bit more expeditiously, family, through the slides so we can come to a close. So again, common sense is, I just switched the word in real time. And I say is conditioned sense. But we must, that's just a simple way of saying it. What we think is common sense is not that common. It maintains the status quo. I put here, question assumptions of fairness and neutrality. Question that. What is fair? What is neutral? What is not what it is? Because many of us really on the far right or the right, we think that there's something fair about this system. If we just work it and we just get ourselves in order and we just ship and shape ourselves up. Well, how do they say it? Shift and shape ourselves up. And some of us who call ourselves African Senate, we believe that too. We believe that there's some fairness in this system. It's very clear again that you believe that there's some fairness in this system by the way that I hear you talk. By what you believe you're owed. Very clear. Very clear. Am I still here, family? Why organizers get frustrated? Years of institution building, political education are ignored. Again, why organizers get frustrated? Years of institution building and political education are ignored. Then everybody becomes an expert. Everybody becomes an expert. Everybody becomes an expert. When why organizers who have been doing this for years with clear minds are ignored. People seem to awaken after tragedy. That is the frustrating thing. We're talking, we're now frustrated. People awaken, we talk about racism, and the problem is that the understanding of racism is the event. That is an outcome and a symptom and an act of racism, but it is not by any means the fullness of it, or even the etiology or the core of it. It's not, we're not reaching the nucleus. And as long as we don't reach the nucleus, or that thing that holds everything together, that holds the system together, then we're doing nothing but wasting our times. Now, we had to do some of that other stuff, but we can't believe, we can't get confused and believe that attacking or trying to intervene at these levels are going to actually bring about the change. So again, people seem to awaken after tragedy, but then they go right back to sleep. But the reason is they seem to go right back to sleep, but the reality is they never woke up. They just became reactionary, and they really, truly still don't understand what I put on the slide previous to this one, and that is, Okay, there's a lack of political education, as we already spoke about in today's discussion. Reaction is not organization. Outrage doesn't equal strategy. Debate doesn't equal power. Reaction doesn't equal transformation. Say that again. Outrage doesn't equal strategy. And then they look at you and say, well, what are you doing? I'm saying locally and nationally. People say, so where are you? Now, some of us have the ability to see things a little more clear, and we're a little bit more discriminative of our time, because we can see, and we've seen these things. We've seen the outrage locally and nationally. And I'm not about wasting my time on futile events. I'm not talking about this event. I'm talking about local events. And I'm saying that we have to, even nationally, decide what the best response is, not reaction. Because those reactions, you come out with outrage, but no strategy. Outrage, because it's full of emotion. Nothing wrong with emotion. We need that too. But we also need strategy. We debate, but no power. Reaction doesn't equal transformation. Transformation that will require, as we spoke about, a political education, an ideological embodiment. I spoke about this a bit earlier, but in Njia Theory, the theory that I've pulled together out of all the years of research, education, from an African-centered, Pan-Africanist, and systems level training, this idea of first order change versus second order change, it just sticks out to me. See, again, first order change is survive, to react, to cope. It's to change and rearrange the furniture, but that's not enough. Sometimes you got to do that to survive, but survival is not enough. So first order change is to rearrange the room. First order change is to change the behaviors, but not the mind. Second order change is to change the mind, the ideology, the level of consciousness that Baba Imhotep spoke about. Second order change is that awakening, a national and even global level of consciousness. But we got to start nationally. In fact, we got to start in the households. And then we got to take it globally. But again, in this case, nationally, first order change is not enough. Even within the family, if you study family systems, there's something that they talk about first order change. It's when you just change your behaviors, but ultimately all systems try to return back to a state of equilibrium. The family continues with the same rules. They don't change the rules. They just change position. They just change a certain thing. But ultimately, it goes right back to how things were before, even if you did something different. If you rearrange the furniture, still the same problem. If you stop talking to a person this way, but it still maintains the system. So again, we can't get stuck in first order change. We have to talk about second order change as well. first order change is necessary to a degree, but in order, if we're talking about liberations, that's where we get confused. We think that we're going to get liberation, freedom, power, sovereignty, or what have you through this system. Nah, they ain't doing that. They ain't going to concede their stuff to you. They're not going to give you the power. You have to fight for the power. You have to change, but you have, first of all, you have to have, as we spoke about, you have to have a national level of consciousness. You have to have a political education. You have to have an idea of theory. You have to have a framework, an ideology, a theoretical orientation to help you filter through the chaos we find ourselves in. If you don't have a framework, what you're going to do is go into the dark and get punched by white supremacy and think it's your cousin. That analogy, I'm building off the analogy that Bob Imhotep threw at us earlier about the shield. And I think I talked about, he talked about the cloak. And I said, well, if you turn off the lights and somebody with white supremacy punches you, they turn the lights back on and your cousin's standing there, you're going to think it's him or her. So again, second order change, we have to transform structures and the conditions. Okay, let's get through this, family. Pain is real. So there's something in Njia that I speak about that is very toxic to our community. This pedestalization of victimhood. See, again, I often say that from an African-centered perspective, we don't get caught in these ideas as being victims. And I'm seeing a lot of victims out here. I'm not saying that there's not times where we have been victimized. But what I'm saying is we cannot be the constant victim. We cannot stay in a victimized state and think that we can scream and yell and talk to the very people who are hurting us as if it's going to matter to them. It won't. It doesn't matter to them. We have to really understand that. So again, pedestalization of victimhood. Do not organize consciousness solely around suffering. Again, as Bob Imhotep was speaking about, see, we align. We cannot organize our consciousness solely around suffering. We must build power. See, I think we should fight, and I think we should debate. But I think we have to take a step back and see what position we're fighting from. Are we fighting as victims, begging oppressors? Are we asking them to care about us? Because there's a lot of victimization or pedestalization of victims that I find in our liberal white culture that we pick up on. I'm telling you, in counseling culture or mental health, there's a lot of pedestalization of victims. It becomes to some end from their ideas a feat of victory, but it's not. And this takes me back to what this concept that I also get out of Afrocentricity from what's my dear Baba name? Dr. not Malana Karenga. I'll skip my name right now. Afrocentricity. Help me out, family. I think I'm a little tired. Dang, I can't think of my dear. I can't think of his name. And that's crazy. It happens, family. But he speaks about this consciousness. Again, we're talking about this consciousness. Baba Imhotep spoke about this consciousness. Our greatest scholar spoke about the consciousness. Dr. Akbar speaks about this consciousness. Dr. Asa G. Hilliard spoke about this consciousness. Dr. Amos Wilson spoke about this consciousness. Baba Imhotep is speaking about this consciousness. Brother Dr. Assad is speaking about this consciousness. And Dr. Hey, come on, y'all. Help me out with my dear Baba in Philly, man, at Temple University. Malefi Kidia Sante. Y'all not gonna help me. Dr. Malefi Kidia Sante spoke about consciousness. Thank y'all. I had to get it from the ancestors, family. He spoke about this consciousness. But he spoke about two levels of consciousness that we often find within our community. He said we have what we often find in our struggle is a consciousness of oppression. And we should know about the oppression and oppressive forces and all those type of things. But again, he said it's not enough to stop there. But to be agents of change or agents of liberation, we have to also be conscious of our victories. We have to have a consciousness of victory. And I'm saying, and I'm going to extend it perhaps, it's been a while since I read it, maybe he's already headed there, is that this consciousness of victory is what is needed for us not to, let me just put it like this, not to be stuck as permanent victims. It's also a consciousness of victory gives us some guidance on how to move when we find ourselves up against this enemy, this system. And lots of times I see us getting stuck in this consciousness of victimhood that serves us, that does not serve us, that does not serve us. But it feels good to emote. He says you often hear it in our poetry. You often hear it in our writings. But we also have to talk about, and we must take the position of us being victorious. And I'm not saying, he's not talking about any false victories. He's saying that historically, we have not only been victims, we have been victors. We have not just laid down, bowed down, we've also resisted. And this is not feel good, because the mind, we really need to know that people don't give a damn. People don't care about your crying. And literally, people do not care about your crying. They don't. And the thing is, on a human level, you wish they could. I'm not saying I don't. I do. But your oppressors don't. Your enemies don't. Your abuser doesn't. They don't. So when I hear a lot of this liberal victimhood, this liberal victimhood approach, it disturbs my soul. I'm not saying don't have empathy for those who've been hurt. I'm just saying that is not enough. But it's also very apolitical to think that your enemy truly cares about your crying. In fact, they weaponize your emotions. They weaponize your reactions. I'm saying even on an individual level, your abuser, your charlatan, your manipulator, the person that is taking advantage of you weaponizes your emotions. They don't care about your crying. They know how to use that against you. As Dr. Bobby Wright spoke about, this is a psychopathic racial society. In other words, he's saying they don't give a F. They don't even feel for you. But we keep crying. If you're going to cry, cry because the loss. But to cry about the law, to cry about this, to cry about that, you didn't know that this system was set up to destroy you. Hurt about the loss of the family members, about the young men. But because the crying about the system not serving us shows that you were not conscious of the structural inequality that exists. Maybe you were, but there's a difference from, again, understanding a thing, internalizing a thing, embodying a thing, and fully understanding a thing. And just repeating some things. So again, the pain is real. Do not organize consciousness solely around suffering. Build power. I'm saying stop begging and trying to utilize their law books in ways that you believe is going to liberate you. I'm not saying not to fight legislatively. I think you should. But we must understand that even on that realm, we need support. My dear brothers and sisters down in Annapolis or in DC or wherever your state house is, they need your support on that level. But we still must not lose focus that is a maintenance program. That's a way to cope with our reality. That's a way for us to survive another day. It's still not enough. So we must organize outside of that. Those groups that you think that are trying to do things and study and organize and think about another way of living, that have visions of a new world, you must organize with them. Because when this system implodes, we got to be ready. If it's 10 years from now, 20 years from now, or 100 years from now, you must pass this on to your children. Because it's not about just you or me. It's about our progeny. So build power. What I hear is pain, exhaustion, fatigue, frustration, often rooted in the love for our people. Please. And that is understandable. That is very understandable. The real question is, what conditions produce these outcomes? What are we building before the next tragedy? And I say that like, I hear people going around talking about all types of things, unity and this and that. And I have to question, what organization or even if that's a family unit, do you belong to? Because never take it lightly when a person doesn't have people in their lives that they are accountable to, whether that be their family and also their social, cultural, political organization. Because a lot of us want to talk a lot, but we don't want to be accountable to anyone. People often struggle in their intimate relationships, whether that be with a significant, for lack of a better term in the moment, romantic partner, or just their family members, when they have not learned to regulate themselves. And I kind of lost focus a bit here, but they struggle. They haven't learned to regulate themselves and deal with their pain in order to be in relationships with other people. People often, those type of people are also often the pedestalized victims that we find, that I speak about in my Njia Theory. They talk loud. They point out who hurt them. But that's as good as they can do. They don't want to hear solutions or resolve. They go around and become a victim wherever they go. And lots of times that victimhood or that pointing the fingers, I'm not saying all the time, because lots of times these people have been hurt in their life. So what happens is, because they've been hurt in their life, they have not healed from that trauma, and they bring that trauma into every relationship they have. And I'm saying every relationship they have, not that they have a lot of relationships, they destroy relationships. They often are in unhealthy relationships where they are controlling and abusive themselves. People who cry victim are very angry people. We have to be consciousness of victory, because just to be consciousness of victimhood is an angry, sad, acultural place. And it only tells you one side of the story. Never become a designated victim. Understand that this society doesn't owe you nothing, because they are your enemy. And when you think your enemy is going to give you something to overthrow or to lessen his or her power, you're confused. I'm not saying they won't give you a job and some good benefits, but understand even the benefits that they give you at your job is very intentional. They don't give a hell about you and your benefits. Just ask a person who sells insurance. The reason why they give you benefits at your job, it's not because they like you. They want to retain you. They want to give you something to bring you. See, we get confused. Oh, my job is a good job. They love me. They take care of me. No, that ain't it. They try to find that they're competing against another entity that also wants to suck the soul out of you, use you, abuse you, and give you as less as they can to get as much as they can. And this is what people talk about when they talk about capitalistic or capitalism. So the real question is, what conditions produce these outcomes? Don't get stuck on the event. The event is essential, but look at the conditions and how do we change the conditions? Dr. Amos Wilson said something about when you see a problem or something like this, and I'm poorly quoting him here, you should find some program to solve the issue. He said the solutions are in the problems. So again, he says the solutions are in the problems. The solutions are in the conditions. So look at the conditions and come up with the solutions. Not the events. The conditions led to whatever happened again. the conditions led to whatever happened. Are we reacting to events or organizing against them? These are just some questions. What institutions are missing? What power must be built? Again, beyond the verdicts, move from reaction to organization. I'm saying here, move from survival to transformation. Who is building? That's the question. So, family, I thank you for joining me for this talk. I'm assuming it was a bit different than most. Just know that I really, truly love us. I love us. I don't mean to hurt us. I myself can see why people are frustrated in all directions, especially everybody, from those organizers who are tired of hearing us cry to those people who haven't yet learned that this nation doesn't love you. Even though you think it doesn't love you, you have yet to learn how much they don't love you. I put a link in the chat, family, in case somebody want to jump on before I get out of here. I got a little time before I get out of here. Family, as you come in and as you leave, make sure you like this video. You thumb up the video. You hype the video. Leave a comment when this video is published, when it's finalized, and keep the conversation going. Help it get in the algorithm by hyping it up. You know what I mean? I know this is like long form content. I know we're in a time where long form content is competing against 5-minute clips. Family, as Dr. Amos Wilson said when he wrote too many books under there, if I move it, Blueprint for Black Power, he said every other group of people has libraries for the amount of knowledge that they need to run their societies, and we think that we can read everything in a pamphlet pretty much. And I like to say to people who argue and like, you don't have to go to school to learn a thing and all that type of thing. I like to remind you, and I thank you all. I'm going to remember this is Dawes Lecture Hall, and I appreciate everybody commenting and chiming in. Please chime in. I put the link in the chat if you want to come in. But again, that we can't have 15-minute conversations. And lots of times, I just be honest with you, just to kind of wrap this up from a mental health perspective. From a mental health perspective, we struggle with focusing. And because we struggle with focusing, we really challenge people like, well, y'all, this is too long and that's too short and this is too long. And then we cause these issues. Like and a lot of times people do that because they don't just want to admit that they struggle with that. And that's something that they have to work on. And maybe not. That might not just be their thing. But we really do have to do more as it pertains to education, because we're not going to be able to educate ourselves as we need to educate ourselves to fight these fights. We talked about political education. You can't educate yourself just by looking at YouTube videos. You need to be under some level of instruction. I see Mr. USA is here. I'll get to you, Mr. USA, shortly. But yeah. So let me bring Mr. USA up. Mr. USA, um, welcome back. Where you calling from again?
Maryland. Hang on, I'm eating something. Give me a minute.
Hold up, Mr. USA. I don't have a lot of time for you eating. And look, hold up.
Well,
Is
give
it
me 30
good?
seconds. It's in my mouth. Yeah, it's fried
Oh,
cod.
fried cod.
Because
Okay.
usually you have me in the back like for 20 minutes. So I was like, let me grab a bite. So give me 30 seconds. I'm gonna cut my mic off. Hang on.
Okay. I'm gonna put you. All right, you turn your mic off. So, real truth to power, peace and blessings to you. I appreciate the you saying excellent work. Um, let's see if we got any comments. While brother JG11, haven't seen you in a while. Peace and power to you. Um, brother Shavers again. I know. I think that's just the last comment I read. I'll reread it. I think it's read worthy. He said, Doc, my wife said we are enslaved in our minds. I think I read that one already. Um, Brother Shaver says cognitive dissonance. Absolutely. I
Okay,
mean,
brother. I'm ready whenever you're ready.
okay, let me read the rest of these and I'll. It says, Brother Shavers also says to continue to look for fairness in a system we know isn't fair is cognitive dissonance. Um, all right, somebody say y'all not. I mean, JG11, you AJG11. Mr. USA came on last week, so we're kind of a little familiar with him at this moment. But Mr. USA, talk to the people. Talk to me. What's
Well,
happening? You calling from Southern Maryland, right?
yeah,
Out
yeah,
there.
yeah, yeah. Country
Yeah.
suburbs.
Okay, cool.
Shout out to you, city guys, Baltimore city guys, The Wire. You said something a minute ago. You said this nation doesn't love you, and that's the issue between me, you, and the dear brother the other day. I don't care what white people think about me. This is my country. White people are peasant European immigrants, so this is my country. Both my mother's side and father's side goes from me, them, Jim Crow, Reconstruction, and slavery. United States of America slavery in the South, both my mother's side and father's side. So I got too much skin in the game to give up this country for any damn body. So you can preach, and the dear brother can preach, and I respect you both. That you hate this country. We've been lynched. We've been enslaved. All that is true. All that is true, brother. But I look at it from a different angle. This is my country.
Hold on. But you're not actually quoting me accurately though.
Bro, you just said the nation doesn't love you. That's
Hold
a
on.
quote from you.
Hold on. I said you said some other things outside of that though.
Okay, but you did say that though. This nation doesn't love you, and I don't care about white
Hold
people because no, I just want to say that that's the
But
difference between me and you. I
but
don't care about white people. I care about this is my nation. We were slaves for this country, Jim Crow for this country.
okay,
I love it, and I'm not giving it up. I'm a pit
okay.
bull.
But whoever said give it up?
Well, brother, if you say the nation don't love you, then why would you hang on to something that you're claiming doesn't love you? That's like hanging on to a woman who doesn't love you. If you say
Who?
a woman doesn't love you, then why even hang on to her?
Okay, so did I say give it up or do something different? I'm trying. Let's practice your listening comprehension skills here.
Bro, I just caught the last few minutes. All I heard
Okay,
was
so you just wanted to come and fight, huh?
no, I don't want to come and fight. You said
I mean,
that no,
because
no.
you only caught the last few minutes, but you're coming in swinging.
Oh, okay, so you're saying you want to stay in America, right? And you want to fight for America. Are you saying that? Catch me up to speed in a split second. You saying, "Hey, I love America. We're gonna stay here and we're gonna fight for this country." I agree with you if you say that.
I say when you say fight for this country. Now I've been speaking about systems more than anything, right? I am saying we have to bring about some level of structural change as Malcolm X said, by any means necessary.
Okay, I'm listening, brother.
That was it.
Okay, yeah. Well, I don't disagree with that, brother. You
Okay.
say you want to bring about structural change. Yeah, I
And,
agree.
and
We need reparations. We need
but
set asides. We need a
at,
hate crime
at,
bill. Yeah.
at this point, now, I don't see when I say structural change. I'm not saying within systemic, the systemic formation that it's currently in.
Okay, so what are you talking about? Overthrowing a government, moving to Africa? Can you put that in a nutshell? Well, what do you mean?
Whatever I said, by any means necessary. So that's the most that I can get on go into that one. Now you said move to Africa. Now, see, what happens with you is you tend to like say things that's not necessarily that is not again is not coherent with what's been discussed. Like if we're talking about this system and changing this system, even if for those who decide to do that work here, how does moving to Africa do that? So I mean, you're just kind of like going off of what you believe. I mean, it doesn't make sense. I mean, I don't know.
You don't make sense to me because you sit here and say the nation
So
doesn't love you, but then you turn around and say let's fight for the nation.
no,
That to
no,
me
no.
seems you love the nation.
I never said. I never said fight for the nation.
So you want a different nation? Do you want a nation within a nation like the Islam Nation of
Okay.
Islam back in the day,
Okay.
nation of within a nation?
You know what I realized? I realized that the other day, and I realized today that you're not really genuine with your questions,
Yes, I am. I'm here
and
talking to you, brother.
and basically you just come to kind of incite certain types of emotion,
No,
and
I'm here. I'm here
but
to understand you, brother.
and you see, but you even in that what you call an understanding, you inject things that no one said, and you inject what you already believe a person saying. You didn't have enough time to really form those opinions, but this is what you do. You have a question?
Yeah, no, okay. The question is, what are you looking for then? What do you want to change? Can you put that in a nutshell?
Do you want? Do you
What
do you have do you have a question for the topic though?
you talking about, Carmelo Anthony and Cyrus?
Yes.
No, no. I came up here because you said that the nation doesn't love you, and I'm saying, man to man, I don't care about what the white man thinks. This is my
Okay.
country. That's
Okay.
all I'm saying.
Well, I have no
So I
problem with.
disagree with you on that. That's all.
Well, I don't know what you're disagreeing with.
Well, because you said the nation doesn't love you. That's not true. This is my nation. This is my home. It loves
No,
me.
no. You said no, no. Listen to what you said. You said that you don't care about what any white man wants, to kind of articulate what you took as me meaning the nation.
You
And
said
then
the nation, brother. You said nation. I can only go on what you said. That's all.
you said, again, you're going to let me finish, right?
Yeah, it's your show.
Okay. Without cutting me off,
Hey,
please,
you're the host, brother.
with all due respect. So what you said was you took from my whatever you said I said. I don't, whether I said it or not it doesn't matter, because I would say something like, this nation doesn't love you. You interpreted that to mean that the white man doesn't love you. And then you said you don't care about if the white man loves you. This is your country. Now, we know that if you're really looking at all these things, these are different things. First, you interpreted my thought about the white man and his system as being the nation, right? You're clear enough to understand that. And I couldn't even agree with that. his system, his rules, his government. Then you then said, this is your country. Now, I know that's not true per se, but I'll go along with you just because I know that you have this belief. I'm not even going to debate that belief. But your country is different. This land is different than what we're calling a nation. So I have no disagreement with you whether if you believe this is your land. Let's say you're really indigenous to this land. I don't believe you are, but I'll go with that. Because you believe that you're indigenous to this land, but you're a black man. Okay, I'll go with that. You're ethnic American. Okay, cool. Let's say you're one of the native people here. If a native person came to me who truly was from this land, and they would also say, a lot of them say we must disrupt this system, this nation, because we were the first nation's people, but this nation that we're currently in is not ours. They also don't like this nation because they can differentiate the nation from the country, the land, the soil, like you said last week. So I know you're clear on this I know you're clear on this, so I don't think you're being genuine.
Okay, you made your point clear. Okay, let me restate what I'm saying, so it'd be perfectly clear. Mm-hmm. Not only do I love the nation, the land, we come from the soil, but I also love our government. It needs to be tweaked, but I love the Constitution with the 13th, 14th, 15th Amendment. I love the Declaration of Independence. I love the Bill of Rights. I love that we got 3 forms of government: the presidency, the Congress, the Supreme Court. All of it was founded on us, our ancestors who were enslaved. So I love the political system we got. We just need to tweak it. But I love that too. So I want to make it clear. I don't just love the nation, I mean the land, because we come from the soil, but I love our political system. It is the best in the world.
Okay, but you're definitely not being consistent, but I get it.
Oh my God. I just answered you, brother.
You're not being consistent with the way that you're articulating this thing, but it's cool. Did you have anything else?
No, that's it, bro. I'll go because we're not connecting. But I thank you, and I want to say to you and the brother yesterday, I love you. You guys are great guys. You putting in work on a street level in Baltimore, as you said. So shout out to you, man. I got no disrespect to none of you guys. I just wanted to come chop it up for a minute. So thank you for allowing me on the show. But yeah, I not only love this land, but I love the nation state, that our political government, it just needs to be tweaked. It's the best government on earth. So I love both. And I just want to make that clear. And so you can say what you want to say, but I love your brother and I love the other brother. Peace, brother. Thanks for letting me come up. Thanks.
You're welcome to have your opinions. I love all African people as well. So peace. All right. That was Mr. USA family. Anybody else wants to come in here before? That's what set that's what set off President Winchester the other day. He was like, brother, you love this country, brother. You love this country that enslaved our people, brother. You love this country that's put so yeah, I see why President Winchester was feeling that way. So because he's saying literally he's loved this government even when we were more visibly oppressed. Yeah, that's interesting. So even when we were more visibly oppressed, he loved this country and this nation and our system and what have you. Yeah, I mean, I don't even think so old dirty kung fu, he was on the other day and he was saying he loved the country then. So it really didn't matter to him whether or not we were enslaved, and all the different travesties and horror that we experienced as a result of the Mayafa, and he doesn't believe in the transatlantic slave trade or the enslavement of our people through this Middle Passage or what have you. He doesn't believe in that. So you kind of have to put your mind in his ideological understanding. He believes he's indigenous to this culture. I think it's very dangerous for us to repeat those type of myths and not be really clear. I'm talking about us in the African Senate communities. I mean, I'm hearing people, repeat these things. Or we were here before this and before that. Like, I think we do too much. We be doing too much. No, we all weren't enslaved because we were already here. Like, we be doing the most. I mean, if you we be stretching things, man. And I think we really have to have real conversation. It's too many people talking. And what I realize is so many people talking who have an inability to actually communicate is problematic. And what do I mean by that? What I mean by that is, like, everybody has this platform, social media, to say all types of things, but they're not really good at having conversations, even conversations where we can disagree. Like, we totally have not been trained in ways to be able to communicate with each other even without differences. And to be honest with you, that I starve because of that. Because one, I like to really have conversations with people, even if they do disagree. I'm almost imagining that Mr. USA, he not ran like he had to run. I didn't give him a fight, too much. So basically, I was boring to him. You know what I mean? So yeah, but he likes to get under people's skin. You know what I mean? And he says some of the most bizarre things. But what do you expect? He's very delusional about what's really going on. Brother, real truth to power, you're not coming in here? That's your man. That's your main man. Hey, look, so family, we try to get real truth to power to my manager to set this me and Hakeem's manager to set this debate up within the community. I appreciate the dear brother, and I'm not talking about Hakeem, but I'm talking about I appreciate brother Hakeem in his own way as well. But I'm speaking about the Mr. USA. We be struggling out here, and when people have been through certain levels of trauma, we experience identity crises, and he's definitely experiencing one. So to try to understand what he says with a rational mind will be irrational on your behalf. Okay. So don't enter every conversation. Know where people are and proceed accordingly. I'm back in here for a hot second because I was hoping you would jump on, but but anyway, family, I don't think anybody else wants to come on and join in the lecture hall. I call it Dawes Lecture Hall. So I think I'm probably end this live. It was I really appreciate you all taking a ride with me today. Make sure you like this video, you share this video, leave comments, and take clips and send it places and stuff like that. Let's see if I had what I have here just to kind of close this out. I said that my interest is not simply in what happened when we speak about Karmelo and Cyrus. My interest is in what these cases reveal. Again, they reveal our pain, our divisions, our frustrations, and the conditions we often ignore until tragedy strikes. Oh boy. Okay. Okay. Let's- hold on. Let's see here. Brother Winchester, President, what's happening? Can I hear you? Hold on. Brother President Winchester,
Yes, can you hear me?
I can hear you, sir. How you doing?
Man, that brother, he scares me, brother.
He scares you?
He scares me, brother. I was going in on him on the chat. I mean,
Oh, you were in the chat with him?
he didn't see me, but Austin Metcalf dad said something that was really disturbing. He said, "People sold you from Africa. We paid for you, brought you over here, put you to work, and you should have been happy." And that reminds me of Mr. USA. He's happy
Mm,
with anything the slave master does. He's
mm,
happy with oppression. He he said the other night he loved this country when they were lynching us. He loved
mm-hmm,
this country when they were putting dogs on us and water
mm-hmm,
hosing us for our civil rights.
mm-hmm,
So I think he loves the country no matter what. He doesn't care about the Constitution and when we weren't even considered a full human being. Those type of things are harmful to our community. Um,
mm-hmm,
and right now, I always say we're in dire times, Doc. We're in
mm-hmm,
dire
mm-hmm,
times to unify. We're in dire times to get ourselves together. We don't have
mm-hmm,
time to be out here being a Sambo, not accepting the fact that these people don't care about us.
mm,
This system has been built to keep us down.
mm-hmm,
This system isn't built for us to be equal to these so-called white folk.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
So, I just had to come on. I hope the brother's listening. I hope he understands that, your rhetoric is dangerous, brother.
mm-hmm,
Yes, you should be proud of being here because you put your heart, soul, equity, our history shows we spilled blood over this land.
mm-hmm,
But he needs to recognize we built this land, but we built this land for them. We were slaves. And they're never going to give us the come up. He's talking about reparations. Did you hear what Austin Metcalf dad said, brother?
mm. Yeah,
Oh,
I mean,
I just had to respond to this brother because the brother's real smooth. He comes on real professional and, has this little funny little laugh and tries to sound very educational and articulate, and brother, you sounded like Clarence Thomas, brother. You sounding articulate like Clarence Thomas, brother. Brother, we are in oppression here, brother. Don't act like we're not. That's the problem I had with him for the utmost. We got to get ourselves together and unify.
mm-hmm.
Mr. USA, I forgot what he said his ethnicity is or what have you, brother. We black people, we
He's
black,
ethnic. He's ethnic American.
man, he's ethnic crazy. He's ethnic Sambo. That's what he is, brother. And we gotta stop being we gotta stop being polite with these people. We gotta really put them in a place because again, like I told them the other night, there are kids that could be watching this platform.
Mm-hmm,
There are kids that could be watching you accept the fact that you will love your master so much that you will refuse to acknowledge the pain that your master has afflicted you. Doc, you're the psychiatrist, Doc. What would we say to that? What would you tell a brother that is just so messed up that he loves the person that beats him up? That's something that I know y'all got a term for that.
but he doesn't really believe the world the way you see it. I think that's from a psychological standpoint. I think that's probably kind of why I won't waste my time with him is because he's too far gone. Yeah, I mean, like it's going to be a process, right? It's no beating nothing into him. He believes what he believes. He believes that stuff. He believes that Yeah, he truly believes that he's not an African or African descendant. He believes that he's an indigenous ethnic American. He believes this he's a tachigenous or whatever the word is to this land. He does not believe the way that you like you're like when we spoke about the brother, somebody, I think it probably was brother Mosi, and he's in the Mosi, and he's in the back right now. I think he put out something. I think it was him speaking about what Baba Nana, Dr. Amos Wilson put out about the insanity that's going on. And I'm not saying this because I don't really know this brother, but there's definitely a high level of insanity that exists in our community, where we have all types of belief systems and ways to escape our real reality. So he doesn't see the world the way that you see it. So you couldn't even beat it into him. It's kind of like when you, like some of us, like, I'll just give you an example. When you're working with someone who's like schizophrenic, I don't care how hard you truly try to beat like sense into them that person ain't on the other side of that couch talking to them. There's no beating that into them. To some degree, you have to meet them where they are. And not even to that level of severity, right? There's people who believe all types of things. Like in the world, people are highly deluded. And even those who have a chance to really look at the world differently, for example, you have what schizotypal type of personality disorder. I think it's schizotypal or schizotypal personality disorder. And these people, they believe all types of things as well. But if you can walk with them and work with them, and you can show them in ways, in delicate ways, that what they believe is not actually in accord with reality, sometimes they can see something different. But there's so much in stake that they don't always want to see what's different, because we also have to keep in mind how delusions serve people. And delusions serve people on many in many psychological ways. Like without that delusion, they have nothing. And you don't know many times what you just took from them.
You know, sorry to cut you because he just stands on that one point all the time, you know, and I think that's it. That's his life. You know, his life is being an oppressed Sambo. His life is being loving this country no matter what condition he's in. He can't even accept the fact that, you know, we were being lynched. And man, when they lynched us, I love this country. What would you love about this country? I love this country when we were slaves. You love the Constitution when we were slaves? When it said we could be slaves? I mean, you're right. You take that away from him, he's nothing. You know, you stripped him away from his power. His power is his loving master. Mr. U.S., praying for you, good brother. I'm praying that you you know, you get some healing for yourself. I'm praying that you get some inner African spirituality in yourself. I'm praying that you lose that self-hate you have for yourself. And, you know, we can all turn around. I know Sambo's, they sell out the race, brother, but come on home. You know,
but you also have to keep in mind that he thinks that you're lost.
Yeah, I know.
Okay. Because he's praying for you too.
To be honest with you, I don't think he thinks I'm lost. I think he's an agent.
You don't believe him at all. You think he's agent provocateur.
Look that up, Captain USA, William O'Neill, the dude that sold out the pack. That's how harmful.
Oh, I forgot. Yeah. You still hold up. Is Captain? I mean, not Captain. It was Mr. What's the guy name? Mr. USA. Is that the guy you were in a heated discussion with the other day?
That's the guy. Yes, man. I was like, look, man, let's just have a discussion. Did you say you loved the country when they were lynching us, good brother? He said, oh, I love this country. when they was lynching us.
Mm-hmm.
I almost lost it. Like sometimes you have to separate trying to debate and come back with things. Just
Let, let me do this. I got you can stay on if you want. I want to see bring brother Mossy on and brother Niobe on and join the conversation real quick. Brother Mossy, you up? Where you calling from? And all the things. Brother
Peace,
brother Mossy.
peace, brothers.
Peace, peace.
Peace,
How you doing?
doctors. It's a always great conversations, brothers. It's Mosi. Calling in
Mostly.
from New Orleans. You know, we got deep roots and connections with Baltimore and New Orleans.
Yes, sir.
So it's good. It's good to be on. I just wanted to get your perspective um to the point about the need for the political education
Mm-hmm.
classes. And like the words and the definitional systems. Appreciate Dr. Kobe Cambone, his work and legacy too. It's
Mm-hmm.
something that we're starting to work through down here. We're working with youngsters who are become entrenched in this juvenile system. Is domination. Like we've completely eliminated supremacy. We're not even speaking on the white supremacy, because as others have said before, before us, before me, these people are not supreme. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I really have a lot of admiration, respect and reverence for Nana Amos and many others too, of course.
Mm-hmm.
But there was one particular lecture when he broke it down in terms of, I think he was talking about William. I don't know. I think the last name was Bell. Somebody's book or article about faces at the bottom of the well. It was a report that was produced maybe in the 80s or something like that, and it was talking about racism. And so the way
Mm-hmm.
Nana Amos spun it around was that he raised domination, and it's these people's desire to dominate is
Mm-hmm.
what we're faced with. And then if he said, when we come to that conclusion and square up on that, then you can begin to break down the science of domination. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that, when like like racism, supremacy, like these phenomenons that are real, and we're dealing with English and all of that too. I
Mm-hmm.
think for us, it doesn't confront us in a way to think scientifically, if you will, in terms of how to position ourselves to neutralize it. Even supremacy to me is almost like this is just overwhelming, and it's too large, and that's why you know we waiting for somebody else to come save us, or we got to somehow convert these people you know um to love us and accept us.
Mm-hmm.
But just this idea that, I mean, not the idea, the reality of domination, breaking down the science of domination, to me it's like it situates us as, we still prisoners of war. You know what I'm saying? Like in like even moving beyond these ideas of citizenship or conditional privileges. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And the last point I wanted to raise was that I had the privilege of connecting with Baba Sababu Plata a few times,
Mm-hmm.
who's carried Nana Amos's legacy forward, in many ways. And one
Mm-hmm.
thing that he was sharing was that there's a need to break the book down, almost like in a number of the texts, like almost down into like a workbook format. You know what I'm saying? And these youngsters are in this virtual realm. Like when we were trying to develop some focus group questions for young people, and recognize that we can't use the word community first without defining how we define community. Then we have to allow them to, in their own way,
Mm-hmm.
define what community is. And for a lot of our young people, the community is some virtual realm we don't have no knowledge of,
Mm-hmm.
which is
Mm-hmm.
very real to them in terms of how they engage in it, how they maybe exchange material,
Uh,
and so forth and
brother,
so on. And so I just wanted to put that out there in terms of the
yeah, no,
domination piece.
I appreciate it, Brother Mosley. And what you're speaking to, this critical analysis, whether we agree or disagree on certain things, I think is necessary and needed. Just that level of critical thinking in the first place. And I'm not even saying everybody. I'm just saying more of us need to, especially those of us who come before us. And I think even if we aren't the ones with these critical analyses, we demand that those who come before us or lead us or guide us or whatever words we want to use, that they be able to analyze this situation in ways that are more accurate to the conditions we find ourselves under. So I think lots of times, especially, and I hear the critiques of African Senate, sometimes people who come from more of an African Senate perspective, and I don't, and I do see that sometimes, because there's people. I mean, we can critique everybody, but nonetheless, what I'm saying is sometimes what people think is African Senate is the cultural accoutrements and all, but for many of us, that's not where it ends. I had a brother one day. I was down in at another restaurant here in Baltimore, and he came up to me and was like, "Dr. Assar, I respect all that you're doing, brother, but you're a cultural nationalist."
Wow.
He gave me a little bit more wow than that. He was like, "Oh man, I appreciate it." He was like, "Yeah, you're doing this and doing that." And then he was like, "But I'm remiss if I don't tell you, man, the Ashikis ain't gonna save us." I'm like,
wow.
So I asked him, I said, "What are you doing that is different since you're a revolutionary?" And he just threw me into a box. And I asked him what was he doing that was more revolutionary. And then he started talking about these revolutionary Black Power meditation groups that he leads. He's a therapist here in Baltimore too. He's and he started telling me about these revolutionary Black Power meditation. I'm like, okay. I mean, if he start talking about gardening, and I'm like, what are you talking? This what you call like, I was like this brother's a left-leaning political person. And I'm not saying we don't need to grow our own food and stuff, but he was talking about things that everybody I know, and even the more cultural spaces, do. They meditate with Black Power. They grow fruit and vegetables, and all of that. I'm talking about the most cultural groups do that. He didn't give me anything, honestly. But but I told him, like, you're not doing anything different. But I don't know what he was doing, but I mean, he's not doing anything more revolutionary than me. In fact, I could argue that I'm more entrenched than he is. I mean, it was just pretty weird, to be honest with you. Let me add this other brother to the stage. You can stay on too, Brother Mosley. Brother Niobe. I don't know if I'm saying it correct.
Oh, peace. Nyobe.
Niobe.
Yes, yes. After the Cameroonian liberation fighter.
Okay,
the brother that fought for Cameroon.
We sound safe so far.
Oh yeah, no. Yeah, no. I'm a Pan-Africanist revolutionary. I'm an organizer. Yeah,
Wow.
no. I'm actually old dirty kung fu.
Okay, old dirty kung fu. What it is, man?
Yeah, what it is. What it is.
Like old dirty kung fu.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I actually do kung fu. So, and I love kung fu movies. Wu-Tang fan. You know what I mean? So,
okay.
Kind of put that under myself. I was out. So one, I come with the anxiety of a student, right, coming to a teacher. So thank you for this opportunity, first of all. I wanted to present I wanted to hear your opinion on a theory I have on the Black community's response to what has happened to the young brothers, Cyrus Belton and Karmelo Anthony. In that in the varying amounts of reactions that we've had, but not the one reaction that we would prefer. which is mass organization of Black people in response to these injustices. And so my theory is actually centered around the use of government experiments on the Black people over a course of period of time, specifically the use of the learned helplessness experiment by Stephen Mayer and Martin Seligman, where they were shocking the dogs on the floor to the point where the dogs didn't want to go out the door when the door was open. And also this idea of behavioral sync that came from the Calhoun experiment with the mice, where he provided for them a quote unquote utopia. And then lastly, the Stanford prison experiment. So I'm looking at these three experiments as they happen around the same time that we have a massive psychological attack on the Black community, 68 to 71. And I was wondering if you would think that there may be some correlation in these studies when looking at the way that Black people have responded in these situations, especially looking at Mr. USA, who definitely exhibits some what is it called when you love your master and you just don't want to leave him? That complex. Yeah.
I'm talking about Stockholm syndrome or
Stockholm
something like
syndrome, yeah.
They have a lot of different terms that kind of like, you know, some people can call it. Yeah, it's a lot of different terms. But yeah, I think, yeah, okay. Did you conclude the question or the?
Yeah, that was my question. Just what would your thoughts be on that theory?
So use the word correlation. Just for the sake of conversation, I couldn't say that. Oh, you can't hear me? You can't hear me?
Yeah.
You can hear me? Okay. Am I low?
No, you good.
Okay. Brother Mosi, I'm not sure. Can you hear me, Brother Mosi? Yeah, I don't know if Brother Mosi can hear me, but so what I was so correlation, right? I don't think that we could say correlation in a strict sense, just because that's a statistical term, right? And that means like when this thing goes up, this thing goes down or up, but like, so these studies are not necessarily in direct. I don't think they've been measured against what you're talking about, but I think I follow what you're saying. You're saying that are you saying that these type of experiments were set up to study how humans will respond to certain types of stimuli, and as a result we then take these particular same measures and methods to control the population that we find ourselves within?
Yes, because we know for a fact that the Stanford prison experiment is being used by the United States Navy in boot camp. I know that because I went through that. And after I went through it, I learned it when I went to school and actually took a psychology 101, and we talked about the Stanford prison experiment. And it just so happened that my instructor at that point was also former military. And so he shared that. So these experiments aren't done for no reason. And we're seeing the effects of these experiments in the Black community. So it's like, they didn't, and they're funded experiments at that.
I would say yes. Even some of these experiments are let's say younger or I mean, they're more recent than the things that we know that they've been using to oppress us. But at the same time, people do studies to measure whether or not these particular variables are the ingredients that actually bring about those results. So hence, we'll do more of this because we know this is what brings that type of outcome. So even if there's causation or correlation, we know that if we do this, these are the potential outcomes. So yes, this is why I always say that when we do research, they already, the like you said, the military and the government, they already know if you put people under certain conditions that they will respond in certain ways, if that's what you're saying. The same thing that Bobby E. Wright spoke about many years ago, and he talks about, who he talk about, Pavlov and the dog, or he talks about one of those people, right? But yeah, definitely they do these experiments as to, I think that not even just those, the reality is, even me as a researcher, and if I do research and other people do research on the Black community, they see how we respond to stimuli, and so hence they will move in certain ways. But it's not only even just controlling us, it's controlling the entire population. That's inclusive of all people, including that Asian guy who pulled that trigger. You know what I mean? So it's not like everybody in the society is being controlled through these experiments. In fact, some would probably call it the USA project. The USA itself is a project and an experiment. Some probably would say something like that, and I wouldn't disagree with that.
Yes. I love that you said that, because the mouse experiment is specifically about behavioral sync. Is extremely like, it's a direct parallel of USian society, where we have these beautiful ones who preen and they're hyper aggressive. They rely heavily on the decadence to come to them, and when the decadence doesn't come to them, they enact violence on the rest of those beneath them, and they set themselves up on a higher tier of the enclosure that they were living in. And so it's and that's why I was like, these tests are a little too on the nose for there not to be something more there, it feels like. And I'm actually thinking of trying to do a comparative analysis of it, and I really wanted to know what you thought.
Yeah, I mean, a comparative analysis of what is are you saying? I mean, of what though?
Oh, of the observation of what's happening in our society today, and alongside those the results of these 3 experiments.
Wow, I mean, are you in a doctoral program right now?
No, I am not. I'm a guerrilla intellectual. I have my degree in history with a focus on Black and African studies and emphasis on racism, colonialism, and genocide. So I've been studying continuously since I got out, and that has been a lot of Frantz Fanon. That has been digging into Paulo Freire and other Amilcar Cabral, and just digging through these thinkers on these different aspects of Black and African culture, and looking at the history of our struggle and trying to find ways that we can apply some historical materialism in dialectics with our community to push them from a Mr. USA at least into something more progressive, to see if there is some way that we can kind of break a lot of the mythology that we get to learn through these institutions.
Yeah, I'm thinking about that.
I'm sorry.
No, I'm thinking about that comparative analysis, and I'm wondering like what the variables would be, and where would you get the data set? And I mean, that's a lot. I mean, that's a mighty feat there. I mean, I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure how you would measure that, all those things, but I think you have to. I mean, I think honestly, it's clear that there's many ways you can do that study, but I'm not even sure if you have to do it the way that you're like thinking about it. Like, I do think that you can do it in many ways. You can look at other variables like poverty. You can these studies have been done. Like, We know that people respond to their conditions. We know that people have shorter life expectancy because of these certain things. Like there's all types of research to support like certain things. We know that there's that group like I'm certain you can go and look up studies like this, the similar like the Stanford experiment, right? That there's this group think type of mentality that happens, and that might have been a smaller sample size, but I'm certain there's research that's out there and that can show and prove that. I mean, I'm not saying you don't do something different, but I'm certain there's research to support that groupthink is a real thing. That people will like do some of the most grotesque things to be a part of the group. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm certain there's plenty of research out there. I appreciate this conversation too. You're like a black ninja nerd, huh? So
and to clarify it for real, like the reason I really want to do this, because I don't want to write it in the scholastic way. I want to write it in a way that's accessible to the everyday person, because it is the everyday person that I got these information about the experiments. Like people was like, yeah, have you heard of this? And I was like, yeah, but you heard of it? And then they repeated it to me, but they didn't understand all of the information that they were saying, but they were using, the gears was turning, and it was like, okay, so maybe let me see if I can condense this in a way, and put this in layman's for people to understand it and be able to digest it more. So they'll be like, oh, that's how you break the myth, because sometimes our stuff is a little too high, like high on the brow. You know what I'm saying? Like we use these big terminologies that we've learned because we're studied, and people are like, yeah, no, I'm checked out, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying? I live over here in Fourth Ward. I ain't concerned with that. So, but they will read stuff, and it's like, all right, so how can I condense this information and summarize it or simplify it in a way that they can understand, without having, because I mean, we got to be real about the literacy rate in the United States. We got most people, most adults reading at an 8th grade level, with half of those reading 6th grade and below. So getting people to read is difficult.
Well, I think one of the things that brother, he's not in here today, Mr. K from the UK often speaks about is documentaries, or like maybe these videos like doing like YouTube and all. Like what I'm thinking that you could do if you're not already doing it, like you're talking about doing the research yourself, which is a major feat. I would say you could start with some articles, kind of like, Dr. Jared Ball, right? Yeah, I feel like I don't know, I feel like I've seen you over there on Black Liberation or something before. Were you? Okay. I feel like, yeah.
Every day.
Okay. You came on the camera before?
Yeah.
I feel like I've seen you on the camera. Okay. So
yeah, I'm an organizer down here in Georgia.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Okay. See, my memory still works. So, I think that what you could do is start to look up the articles that already support what you are articulating here and break them down in bite-sized chunks. Like Dr. Ball goes on, and of course Dr. Ball doesn't always make it. Dr. Ball be on next Wednesday, y'all. But Dr. Ball doesn't make it always that easy for people to understand. He is like 7-syllable words all the time. But Dr. Ball, no shot. But nonetheless, he's really articulate. So I think what you could do is take those studies and actually talk to them, or write Substacks about them, or even like just pull like 3 or 4 articles together and write your own analysis in a way that people can digest it or articulate. Like, I think that'll be really good. I think that'll be, yeah. And if I would say, if you ever want to come on and on this particular station and talk about some of these things and some of your findings, or the findings that you found, other people's findings, and you break them down for people to be able to digest it. I'm actually I will welcome that here as well. Yeah.
No, I would appreciate that. Nervous as I'd be, I would appreciate it. I would love to do that, actually. Thank you. And for
Yeah.
sure. And thank you so much. Like, no, that really does help me set this up as far as scope and what kind of research methodologies I could utilize to move this forward. So I really appreciate that, Doc.
Yeah, no
Sure.
problem. I see something in a private chat. Okay. I'm gonna give you my number in the private. My number's public anyway, it doesn't matter, but for the sake of making it a little harder for some of these crazy folk out here. Some of our beautiful brothers and sisters out here. Well, but definitely brothers. I had no problems with it. Okay, I'm gonna put now. So I think that's it. Oh Lord, I'm wrong number. But what is this? This is crazy. Okay. I'm gonna try it again. Just text me or email me. All right.
Sounds great. Yeah, I would love to.
All right, dear brother. It was my pleasure. Stay
Likewise.
connected. All right.
Sure,
Peace
for
and
sure.
power.
Peace and power.
Family. I'm about to get up out of here. If there's no one else that wants to come in before we wrap this particular show up. I did put a link in the chat. And again, this particular episode was about Karmelo and Cyrus, and not just Karmelo and Cyrus, because as I stated throughout the discussion today, they are just a reminder. They are a reminder or event that this system creates all the narratives. I mean, like, we could be totally wrong about what their intent were or all that. It doesn't matter. Still, the system itself sets up conditions that condition us nonetheless. All of us, even those that aren't black, but specifically with us, if we are to ever find ourselves in a position of power, we have to really study the system and how it serves us and conditions us. So again, I'm going to close out. I put here my interest is not simply in what happened with my dear brothers. My interest is in what these cases reveal. They reveal our pain, our divisions, our frustrations, and the conditions we often ignore until tragedy strikes. The challenge before us is to move from reaction to organization, from survival to transformation, and from first order change, as I spoke about throughout this presentation, just rearranging the behaviors to higher levels of understanding, as Baba Imhotep called national consciousness, to second order change. The question is not merely who is right. The question is who, I say it again, who is building? Who is building, family? And as you leave today, give me a thumbs up, follow, hype the video, do all the things, leave a comment, all the things. Until next time, I'm out. Signing out. Dr. Daw's Lecture Hall. Peace and power.
When you claim your Africanness, you're going to get your
If a
mind back.
generalized black woman is doing this and being this, that is that is irresponsible.
No,
Coming with
When
his
you
master's
claim your
degree,
Africanness, you're going to get your mind
showing
back.
me, his
Black and proud. Claim your
I agree,
Africanness. Black
because
and
I
proud.
think
I'm telling
that
you.
if
When you claim your
as a
Africanness, you're going to
person
get your
who
mind
has
back.
a page,
what is the
I
status of
Proud.
people
Claim your
with half
Africanness. Black and proud. I'm
FBA?
telling you. When you claim your Africanness, you're going to get your mind back.
That's why I was laughing because
Black and
I am
proud. Claim your Africanness. Black
I'm not
and
saying
proud.
the
I'm telling
framework
you.
doesn't do a thing, but
Become a part of it.
we've been
Embrace it.
Forward to black men
Become a
being the
part of it.
masters, being
Embrace
in
it.
control. We
Become a
must have
part
our
of
own-
it.
only
Embrace it.
that those one of the
Become a
best
part
stories I've
of
ever
it.
heard.
Embrace it. When you claim
Out
your
of
Africanness, you're going
mastery
to get your mind
that
back.
mental growth takes
Black
place.
and
It's
proud.
been
Claim
misled
your
by
Africanness.
leadership,
Black
for
and
instance,
proud.
that
I'm
think
telling
that
you.
you can consume.
When you claim your Africanness, you're going to get your mind back. Black and proud. Claim your Africanness. Black and proud. I'm telling you.